Hello and welcome to the Extraordinary Retirement Podcast with your hosts, Greg Indovina and Nate Yeomans.
Well, thank you, Wendy. Thanks for the introduction. And we are super excited for our show today. The topic for today is going to be women and wealth. Probably something that Greg and I have been looking forward to the most this
Yeah.
year because we have an absolutely exciting interview for everyone today. Um, we are interviewing Shannon Spotswood, who has been named top women to watch by Investment News. And she is the amazing CEO of RFG Advisory. For those that you don't know who RFG Advisory is the registered investment advisory firm that really powers design wealth. It gives Greg and I all the tools and the capabilities, the technology, everything that we need to really go out there and serve our clients at the highest level. And Shannon is the leadership of RFG Advisory and one of the people that I would have to say that I look up to the most from a leadership perspective. And so we're super excited to have Shannon on the show today. And we look forward to getting to know her better and understanding her story and how we can help women feel empowered about their wealth today, which I think is an area that is very well, certainly underserved.
Well, it is such an honor and a privilege to be here today with all of you. We're going to talk about one of my absolute favorite, and I think one of the most important topics as it relates to wealth in this country and the role that women play in building wealth, in taking care of their families. There's so much for us to dig into. So thank you so much for inviting me onto your awesome podcast.
Oh, we are a pleasure. It's a pleasure to have you. And so let's just get started. Why don't we just give us a little bit background of who is Shannon Spotswood and how did you get to where you're at today leading such an amazing organization?
Absolutely. Well, I consider it just a tremendous gift and a blessing to be given the opportunity to lead RFG and partner with incredible advisors who are truly shaping the future of wealth management. I am a mother of three children. I'm going to celebrate my 25th wedding anniversary here at the end of October. And I say that because my path to working, quote, on Wall Street was ignited at a very young age. I knew at 14, now the mother of three teenagers, I realized how kind of weird that was. But I knew at 14 that I wanted to work on Wall Street. I asked my parents for a subscription to the Wall Street Journal and became really fascinated by investing. I spent the first 2 decades of my career living and working in San Francisco when that city was really developing both a financial and a technology identity. And it was absolutely an incredible time to be there. So I was on the ground floor of being a part of building 2 hedge funds. I worked at an investment bank for many years as the obligatory tour of duty analyst to associate and help them start an M&A group. We were actually the first investment bank that was concentrated on taking technology companies public. So I had a front row seat on what is now modern day Silicon Valley. So just this incredible career in investing and M&A banking, and living truly out what was not only my biggest goal, but my life's dream, professionally speaking. And the hedge fund, the second hedge fund that I worked at, I spent more than a decade there. I ran a long short hedge fund for them. We got acquired by Indovina Investments. I was really being mentored to lead that company. My youngest daughter, my kids are 3.5 years apart. My youngest daughter was born in May of 2008. So really at the beginning of the financial crisis. And in the spring of 2010, something happened to me that I never saw coming. And I fell out of love. I fell out of love with my first love, which was financial services. And I got to a point where I couldn't crawl on an airplane anymore. We had clients from Singapore to Switzerland and, had grown that firm very large by that point. And a friend of mine had started a luxury children's clothing company and had repeatedly asked me to join her. Would I ever think about partnering with her? And it was one of those moments where I can't imagine a more radical left-hand turn pivot than to leave one of the largest hedge funds in San Francisco, running a very big team, having been there for more than a decade. But that's exactly what I did. So I walked out that day and I partnered with her, and I went from, the tallest building in San Francisco to a garage with upside down boxes of children's clothing.
The life
And for
of
the
an
next-
entrepreneur.
Exactly.
And you can put a shameless plug in for the company if you'd like, Shannon.
It's called Busy Bees. Busy Bees Kids is our
Very
our
cool.
website. My former partner still runs that business today and has actually started a second line called Mayor St. Bart's. Lots of cuteness there. So we spent 3 years building, or I spent 3 years building that company. We actually created one of the very first e-com sites on Shopify and turned that into a wholesale and direct to consumer business. And while I was running that business, my husband and I decided to move from San Francisco, where we'd lived for more than 20 years, to Birmingham, Alabama, where my husband's brother lives. But no, we were not from here. And no, we did not have jobs in Birmingham, Alabama. So you can imagine when you tell people in San Francisco that you're leaving the Bay Area after that much time and that much connection, they think you've absolutely lost your mind. Like you've been kidnapped by aliens and something has gone
What happened?
horribly,
Yep.
horribly wrong. But it was the absolute right decision for our family. So we moved from San Francisco. We ended up buying the house next door to my husband's brother and really just established very deep roots very quickly in Birmingham. And after a year of being in the South, my battery was recharged, and I started to miss the calling of my first love, which is the financial services industry. And so I rolled out of the children's clothing company and I spent about 5 to 6 months in a very introspective place where I thought about the first hedge fund, the investment banking experience, the second hedge fund, the luxury children's clothing company, and tried to identify the thread that really knit all of those incredible opportunities together. And what I realized during that time is that I was on the ground floor of each one of those companies and had this opportunity to help build them. And so the epiphany that I had was, oh my gosh, I'm a builder. I'm a builder. And I titled my job search, Seeking the Intangible. And what I realized is that as a builder, what energized me the most was the intersection of talent and opportunity and the gift to build something bigger than yourself.
Yeah.
And I had a very generous neighbor who opened up his Rolodex and introduced me to anyone really doing anything related to finance in Birmingham. And during that intangible quest, I met the founder of RFG Advisory, Bobby White. And Bobby and I both had the meeting, quite honestly, on the calendar as a filler meeting. We thought, well, I'm doing a favor for my across the street neighbor who's made this introduction. And as he tells the story, he opened up my resume that morning that we were to meet and said, well, why would I hire her? She could do my job. And 10 minutes into our very first meeting, we both canceled the rest of our day. And on the proverbial cocktail napkin, which was a yellow pad in his office, we spent the next 2 hours having a conversation that really has led to what RFG is today, and kind of backing up your very gracious introduction of who RFG is. And that conversation centered around what if you could tear RFG all the way down to the foundational level and build a platform designed to serve independent advisors and their clients, to help independent advisors build their business and really adopt a posture for success in an industry that is changing rapidly and will continue to see an accelerated pace of change as we embark on this generational wealth transfer. And so it took us about 6 months to work through the terms of our partnership, and I started September 1st of 2015. And in all honesty, while we've grown significantly in that time and we've added a tremendous amount of depth and breadth to our platform and to our team, that initial conversation hasn't changed at all. It remains our North Star, how to show up every single day and help independent advisors build their business to be able to deliver an exceptional client experience. And I can't imagine a more energizing way to spend my professional life. So I'm absolutely thrilled to be given this opportunity and to have the chance to link arms with all of you and what you're doing at Design Wealth.
So we're so glad that you fell back in love with financial services, because you're doing an
Absolutely.
amazing job. So
Yeah. I have
absolutely.
a question for you, Shannon, just to kick this off. Anyone that knows you knows you're passionate about a number of things, but the passion you have for educating women on wealth, just as who you are. Can you tell us a little bit about where that came from and why that's so important to you?
Well, I think this is where it's helpful to just hear a little bit of my backstory. Is important to kind of frame the answer to that question. Having spent, the first 20 years of my career in institutional finance, I was the go-to in my, with my friends around money questions, just asking money questions, asking about their 401k or should they be invested in the markets. And it always struck me as just how underserved women were and how lacking in self-confidence they were around money. And this included women who were at the absolute top of their fields professionally, or raising, raising their families, like women of kind of all ages and all life stages, not feeling like they had access to resources and confidence around making very important financial decisions. So that was always just kind of running in my life. And then I, joined RFG, and I learned a statistic that remains true today. And I consider it to be one of the most heartbreaking numbers in our industry. And that is, in the event of death and divorce, 70%, that is 70% of women will look to leave their financial advisor and seek a new financial advisor.
Wow.
And that number punched me in the face, because I was like, whoa, let me get this straight. When I am at my lowest moment, where I should be turning to my advisor and should have a high degree of comfort from the trust that I built up in that relationship, I instead am completely pivoting away and seeking out someone new, because I have felt so disconnected from the process and from the experience. I have been so overlooked in the conversation that instead of turning into this incredible professional for assistance, I'm looking outside. And it was that, combination of having spent my professional life in financial services, meeting that statistic, that was a call to action to create stronger money and to be be the change, to be a change agent and really helping advisors have the tools and resources that they need in order to build those intentional bridges with women. And from that point, we gave birth to Stronger Money. And we'll talk a little bit more about Stronger Money, but what I love, and it was one of those kind of like lightning strike moments once you get the creative juices flowing, like the name came so like, it would just came so easily. It came to us so easily. And then
Shannon,
the
you might want to spell Stronger Money just so people get the
play on words.
the
So
play
it's
on word.
STRONG, her, HER, strong, her money.
Love
And
it.
the tagline is empower women to live financially fearless. And I can't think of anything that encapsulates the mission more than living financially fearless.
Well,
Nice.
what an amazing message. And, honestly, you sharing that statistic smacks me in the face as well, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a brutal reminder that we absolutely have to be intentional about making women a priority in the conversation. And whether we're working with a single individual or a married couple, we have to incorporate them into the planning process and help them feel like they have ownership of their financial plan. And so it's a rude awakening for all of us advisors that we need to change. And so kudos to you for taking the lead on that and bringing awareness to that ugly statistic. So
What's even more
Here's-
frightening about that statistic, Shannon, is that you then have a woman who's obviously dealing with a lot of emotional issues at that time, is then out in the marketplace, uneducated on even how to find an advisor that is suitable for her, and could be taken advantage of, or who knows. So that's frightening.
Here's the statistic that's going to really like blow your mind when you combine these two together, is that we are at the very beginning of a generational wealth transfer, and the numbers are mind-boggling. In the next 21 years, which really isn't, that's two decades basically, $170 trillion will transition. And the first stop, because of life expectancy, is in the hands of women. So they are estimating by the year 2030 that 67% of wealth in this country will be controlled by women. Longer term, as you look at that 170 trillion, that statistic remains in place. 70% of wealth will be controlled by women. This is a seismic change, and really a rally cry to our industry when you couple it with the fact that women are telling us with their feet that they're leaving their advisor, 70% of them. So it really is like the moment is now to be very intentional about designing the client experience for how you're going to focus on financial planning for women, all of the education. And we can talk about what the data and what the lived experience that we've had in serving women is indicating that they're looking for. But it is like lights are flashing, people. Like we're about ready to see some pretty big changes.
absolutely.
So what's your advice to a woman who is married or not married in a relationship with a financial advisor so that statistic doesn't happen? How do they engage at a deeper and better level so that that statistic doesn't happen to them?
Okay, so I'd flip the script on that, because that almost makes it seem like it's her problem.
Okay.
And it's not. It's the advisor's problem. So what I would say to
So the
all
answer is maybe
women,
get a different advisor earlier.
exactly. Like
Exactly.
what I would say to all the women listening to this is that if you don't feel seen, if you don't feel heard, if you are not having conversations that are building your financial self-confidence, that are very directly linking your life planning to your financial plan. And those are two very different things. And this is part of what makes women a really exciting client, is that not only are women 5 times more likely to be a referral source, but they have a very deep emotional tie to money. So while men tend to think about money more as like a, kind of pile of gold that needs to be, grown, women very instinctively from a young age allocate money into different buckets. We're thinking about healthcare planning. We're thinking about taking care of our family. We're thinking about our fund money. We're thinking about our wedding budget. We're thinking about our travel budget. We're thinking about our fashion budget. Like, we're thinking about our investment portfolio, but we have attached emotions and goals very specifically that are not necessarily so binary to what our traditional financial planning. So what I would say is that to a woman who is not feeling that their financial advisor is helping them build that self-confidence and honoring that emotional connection to their financial plan, it's time to give me a call. It's time to give Greg and Nate a call. We can help. We can really help you with that. So I'd flip the question to, what does a financial advisor need to do in order to retain those assets and deepen those connections and build build on those relationships? And it is to acknowledge, this is such a fascinating statistic. So Accenture did a really big study in asking clients what they seek most in their financial advisor. And if you ask a financial advisor this question, you're going to get a very technical answer around portfolio construction and risk tolerance and investment objectives and the alignment of all these. You're professionals and this is your technical craft. But when you ask the clients, the Accenture study revealed that what a client is looking for in their financial advisor is, do you get me? Do you share my values? And do I want to spend time with you outside the office? So that to me is, if you can very intentionally answer each one of those with, how am I making that connection on, do I share your values? Do I get you? Do I want to spend time with you outside the office? And then you overlay it with what is table stakes of our industry. Of course, you're great at financial planning and portfolio construction and all of the things that the incredibly important work that you do, all the things that you do for clients. That is where the magic is. And I think that is where the retention is, where a female client can say that they are building their financial self-confidence and they feel heard and they feel taken care of.
That's so
Absolutely.
good.
So again, coming back to, we as advisors have to be intentional about incorporating conversations and programs and things specifically geared towards women, so that they don't feel like they're just along for the ride.
Right.
They're a part of the ride, and they're integral into the entire process. And so we've got to take that message very seriously. Now,
And women need to speak up if they're not if they're not feeling that. Absolutely.
yeah.
You
So I
know,
want to.
I think yes, but I also think that there are some ways to ask questions that really give women the confidence to be able to speak up. And a lot of that starts to tap into the EQ of the conversation. So some of the most interesting and revelatory discussions center around fear. What are you most afraid of? And really getting an idea from, either if it's a single head of household female client, what are you most afraid of? Or in a marriage or in a blended family, like unlocking the answer to that question really gives permission to come into the conversation and speak up.
Yeah, Shannon, I think this is an interesting transition here because one of the questions I have, or maybe the observation I have, and I can think of my wife, for example, I can think of Greg's wife and many other amazing women I know. They're so incredibly selfless, and they're so focused on taking care of everyone else first. And
Mm-hmm.
and it is an amazing trait and quality to have, but there is this desire that, you know what, I'm going to put everybody first. I'm going to take care of everybody first, and I'll worry about me last.
Yeah.
And so kind of talk to us a little bit about that psychological shift sometimes that and maybe ways that we can help them make that shift where it's okay to focus on you and your finances and your wealth and your happiness in your life. How can we better do that and serve women in that capacity?
It makes me just so happy to have you pose the question. And I think that that honesty and that authenticity and vulnerability expressed in just acknowledging that the selflessness is how you really kick off the conversation and start to take the baby steps into having permission and empowerment to be a little bit selfish. And, this is where, women like put on your oxygen mask first.
Yep.
Exactly.
Spending time both on your physical health as well as your emotional health. And it can be as simple as like, I'm going to take the 30 minutes a day to go for a walk outside, to engage in meditation or prayer, or spend time over coffee with my best friend, or the latest craze, I'm going to join a mahjong group and learn how to play mahjong. Like, even just acknowledging that there has to be an element of putting yourself first so that you can continue to selflessly serve all of those in your family and your community is so important. And then I would like layer in, like, you all do some really interesting work that is not the norm in the industry, such as helping women in financial planning acknowledge and understand their worth in the workplace. How do I negotiate a raise? Do I need to think about a career change to help me be on the financial path that I want to enjoy long term? And that might mean for me, when I turn 90, I want to open a flower shop, coffee shop. Like, I'm going to do that. It's going to be have this charitable arm to it. It's going to be, this really fun, very creative outlet. So my financial plan reflects that I want to have that ability, God willing, health wise, to be able to do that at 90. So I think that this is where when you acknowledge the selflessness that is happening, and then you marry it with a financial plan that is looking to uncover not just the surface level goals, but what are some more intentional steps that we have to take? Do you want to
Yeah.
move so you can be closer to your children, to your family? Do you want to change careers? This is where I think that women find so much value in a relationship with a financial advisor. That's the financial life coach they're seeking. And that's,
Mm.
what really sets you all apart, and is, your clients just think it's what everybody does. But I can tell
Right.
you, it is not.
Absolutely. So I think that it's amazing to just to think about the priorities that we need to make and helping women with this process as they're leading up to retirement, being able to help them feel empowered to take control of their financial life, to be intentional about their financial life, and then they have their life post retirement.
Mm.
Right. And
Yeah.
and what I hear you saying is you're saying that this thing called retirement, one, maybe is not a thing for you, uh, but it's more of a shift and a transition into a different phase in your life, but you're very purpose driven. And so, how do we help women continue to have purpose beyond their successful careers and things that they did to help with their families and taking care of others, etc.? How do we help them transition into a life of purpose post retirement?
I think this is one of the richest areas that is going to see just some incredible um, incredible positive impact on society if, as an industry, we kind of answer the rally cry. And this is a big part of the work that we're doing at Stronger Money. I call it retire to what?
Mm,
And it is a new framing because with longevity and advances in medicine, it is not like outside the realm of possibility to be living in a very healthy way to 100 or even older than 100.
right.
And so the idea of having your life really read like a book with different chapters. You might have your stay at home chapter, and then as you enter into your 50s and 60s, be interested in having your professional chapter. You have your volunteer, and philanthropy is incredibly important. There's a big emotional connection between money and impact for women. So I think that as an industry, as we delve into really that exploration about retire to what, how to maximize your happiness and your fulfillment, it is what is going to pose some of the greatest challenges to financial advisors, because they're being asked to step into the role of financial life coach and designing financial plans that have that flexibility to be able to extend beyond just a traditional working earning years experience. So there is no doubt, especially as we look at this wealth transfer. When you really think about women controlling 70% of wealth and their proclivity to taking care of their families and their communities, wanting to have their money be mission driven, wanting their time to be very purposeful, this is going to just we're going to look different. And it's
Yep.
a really exciting time to think about how, I always talk about like women and money is like dropping a pebble in the ocean or a pebble in the pond, right? You start to immediately see the ripple effect outwards. And that, I believe, is some of the great work that you all are going to do, which is design your retirement with intentionality.
Mm.
Don't stumble into it. Don't,
Yep.
it's fine if you just want to spend your time in your hobbies and taking care of your children. But I think that there's going to be a generation that is looking to build that next chapter in a way that is a very, like, don't die rich, live richly.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. Well, Shannon, this has been an incredible conversation. Time flies when you're having fun. And I feel like we could talk to you for hours and hours and hours on this topic that is so important. So I want to thank you for joining us. I want to thank you for your amazing leadership at RFG Advisory. And more importantly, I want to thank you for your leadership in helping us change this paradigm around women and wealth and making
Yeah.
sure that
Well,
women are a priority in the conversations moving forward. And so if somebody were wanting to follow you or to learn more about Stronger Money, where would they go?
absolutely. I'm on LinkedIn at Shannon Spotswood. I'm on Instagram at Shannon Parrot Spotswood. Join RFG and Strong Her Money on Instagram and on LinkedIn. So lots of ways. I welcome the conversation. Thank you both for making this a priority, for weaving it into your value proposition for your clients, and recognizing just the disproportionately positive impact that you can have by showing up and intentionally serving your female clients. So thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you, Shannon. Designwealthadvisors.com is on the website, and you can reach us at 720-833-7676.
Okay. And thank you for listening today. Please like, follow, and share this podcast with your friends. Until next time, I'm Wendy McConnell.